Hello, everyone. My name's Chiara, and today I want to talk to you guys about cancel culture. So, it was summer of 2020 in quarantine. I was scrolling through Twitter when I learned that Lea Michele, one of my favorite actresses, had been accused of being racist. She'd been accused by one of her castmates, and now the internet hated her. And then, as I scrolled and scrolled, through Twitter, which detailed her microaggressions and racist insults. She was being canceled right before my eyes. I couldn't help but think about how all this happened and how now a person was being canceled and torn apart right in front of me. Could this have been avoided if, back then, people around her had stopped her and engaged in a dialogue with her to educate her about her words and their consequences? Why did they remain bystanders? Were they as complicit as she? Were they scared of speaking up and being canceled by her? I can't help but think if someone had stepped in, it's possible that she would have learned from her mistakes, grown as a person, and not faced her life's work being wiped out. Now, at the time, I was a lot like the people who were hating on her. I mean, who would want an alleged racist to be famous, to have a platform? So it got me thinking about how, instead of jumping on the bandwagon of haters, I could maybe create a different path for dealing with these situations. How we could educate one another and grow from these experiences as people and as a culture. Maybe if I attempted to start this world, or at least my world, would be a better place. So I decided to try to start spreading awareness through teaching others. But before I explain how to do that, let's look back at cancel culture and its origins. Wikipedia says that cancel culture, or call out culture, is a modern form of ostracism in which someone is thrust out of social or professional circles, either online, in social media, in the real world, or both. Those who are subject to this ostracism are said to be canceled. So, if we return to Lea Michele, people eventually forgot about hating on her, and the mob settled down and moved on to someone else. But her life will probably never be the same. To be exposed and humiliated in that way, whether you are a public figure or private, affects you, changes you. Was the group's hope that she would change for the better? Or did they want to make her kryptonite and preclude her from ever working again? Chances are that they succeeded in the latter. But is that the best way to serve society? Isn't the hope that she learned from her experience and became a better person, and that she will now raise her new baby to be an anti racist? Instead of that happening, what really happened to her has actually been happening to so many people, and not just in the last decade. Cancel culture has been around since the 1800s, just not in the way that you would expect. Let me explain. In the olden days, when adultery was a crime and being drunk, there was a specific punishment for those transgressions. Public shaming. Basically, if you've ever seen one of these, those were actually used on people. They would lock the sinners up in the middle of town, leave a bucket of tomatoes, and let the people walking by humiliate them. This may sound silly, but could you imagine? I would not want to be that person. But this psychological torture as means of changing behavior was sparked cancel culture. So what can we do instead of canceling? Well, that's where education and awareness come in. We start by having a discussion. Let's talk to this person about the true meaning behind their statement. Do they even understand the words that they have chosen? I would guess that, like me, they occasionally spit out words without malintent, but immediately wish that they could reel them back in. Let's look at Justine Sacco. She sent out a tweet about not getting AIDS in Africa in 2013 before she got on a plane to go home. As soon as she landed, her life was changed forever. She was fired from her job, shunned by her family, received thousands of death threats, and was forever and always labeled a racist. Was she? Maybe. Did she choose to bolster a stereotype that is misinformed and hurtful? Yes. But what if the internet had had a discussion with her? Asked her, Why would she say this? Why would she choose to say this? I can't help but imagine that she would have learned much more from the actual experience from that than the actual experience that she had, which left her being defensive and resentful and bitter, but did nothing for promoting education and better behavior from her and others. One question I had was, at what point did we change our definition of free speech? Why has it changed to being constantly misused by people, using it to hurt people? How is it that now you say one stupid thing and are immediately judged and canceled? What about giving someone the benefit of the doubt? Having empathy for our fellow human rather than wanting to hurt them? What kind of society will Gen Z become if education is not the first approach? We need to have a desire to engage in a meaningful discussion and dialogue. Before we cancel someone, we need to teach them the skills to educate rather than cancel. So let me introduce Chiara's guide to not canceling. Number 1, think to yourself, is what this person's saying really worth starting a fight over on the internet? Remember, pick your battles. Number 2, is what this person's saying hurting others? For example, let's not cancel someone for saying something stupid like lettuce is a fruit. Number 3, why would they say this? Maybe they were taught to think this way about their surroundings. Number 4, empathy. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt and try to step into their shoes. Number 5, how can we teach them? How can we show this person, guide them, and encourage them to be a better person, to consider a different way or perspective, and to learn from their mistakes? Could you imagine, even for a second, if we came from a place of lifting others up and taught them how their words have an impact, rather than pushing them down and moving on? The world could be such a better place with more joy and unity. I hope that today you all learned something about the way that we treat others. Not just the cancelers, not just the cancelees, everyone. We all need to respect each other's perspectives. Not because the Constitution says that we have a right to, but because as humans, we want to believe in our right to express and understand each other. We all rise when we lift others up too. Thank you for listening.